Hey, y'all, what to do? Backwards Treasure Cookie. Oh, it's a Rio, and it's a lot. I guess I feel like I've been slacking. I have been slacking. It's not a feel like I have. Depending on what this is gonna be, you already know what it is by the title of the video. I don't know what it is yet, so you'll figure it out too. We'll do this together. I had to put on some pajamas because I didn't have on clothes. But let's see. Let's try to get this off my head. And let's see how this goes. She smashed. She's so cute though. Okay. 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 Hmm. 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 I love that tea. Okay. Let's just. I had already started ish, but now I'm just gonna just like start over ish. So yeah. Let's do this together, I guess. I'm normally in my bed, but I guess we set up today a little different. We're gonna do it at my desk. The irony of this is that I've been reading these chapters, but I haven't been going into detail. And so today I think I just want to try to do that. I can feel the mucus in my throat, which is why I'm not sick though. But if there's someone that ever sees this and just wonder why I'm always doing the sounds, or if you ever see this that don't know me, growing up I got told that I had like some type of form of bronchitis or whatever, and that mucus impacts my nostrils, and so it always feels like my nose is caving in like every second. So to breathe, I do that to kind of like push out the feeling of like my nose caving in. Long story short, I have breathing problems, okay? And I have a lot of mucus within me that just seems like it never comes out. And most of the time it doesn't. So if you've known me, if you've dated me, if you've been friends with me, you know I sniffle, I make all these sounds. And if you've dated me, I pick my nose. But I'm not ashamed to say that I do. Because it just feels like something's blocking. Most of the time, there's nothing that comes out. But, except for like when I'm sick. Because I would rather grab it and pull it out than have it stuck in there. Because I already have that issue. And breathing is hard, okay? mind your business. I wash my hands afterwards. I remember someone told me they thought I had a tick because I do it. No, I just can't breathe. So yeah. But I still have life. You know why? Because God gave me life. So, speaking of God giving life, I'm just going to start from Isaiah 60 and onward. I've been reading them, but I haven't been reading them in detail. Or I'll think about something different, but it'll be like a skim. So I really have been slacking, and I don't need to do that. Like, I want a relationship with God, and I feel like I've been not actively pursuing God as I should be. Not I feel like I haven't. Accountability, hello. And knowing that has made me sad and disappointed in myself, but I'm also trying not to bash myself for it, because ever since I've been doing that recently, I've been thinking about, like, I'll have this small counter thought of like how the difference between the devil and God, when you're doing something wrong, the devil or the enemy will try to get you to condemn yourself and instead of focusing on who God is and understanding that by the word, God is patient, right? So even as hard as it feels, as hard as it is to like not tell yourself you're bad, is it truthful? The thing I feel like I need to start doing is aligning my thoughts with truth. Is what you're feeling and what you're thinking lining up to what the Bible says? And that's something that I really need to start thinking about and actively doing to get out of that overthinking process. You're upset because, like, oh, you fell into sin. A few weeks ago, not your business, you masturbated. And then after it's just like, why'd you do that? Shame on you for doing that. You haven't done that in so long, and all of us, like, what? You should know better. You should be doing better. You claim yourself to be this woman of God, da da da. And, you know, like, you're, what's it called? Not impurifying. Like, you're, I had the term, like, you're, I can't think of the word that I'm looking for right now, Jesus. But you're, like, tampering with, like, I literally said this, like, days ago. And I literally prayed days ago, like, I am not trying to associate, because I can't think of the term right now, but associating, like, love and ideas and imagination with, like, lustful things, right? So, like, maintaining a pure, like, image of what love should be and interactions and stuff like that, right? And way too much TMI, but, like, when you get on your menstrual cycle, that's something that I noticed come up for just me. That seems to be a thing. Like, the entire month, I could go without having lustful thoughts about anything. And then as soon as my period comes, my menstrual cycle comes, here comes all the emotions about a boy. Here comes all the overthinking about an ex relationship. And then here comes, you know, that feeling of being horny, right? And then all of a sudden, for some reason, like that becomes a thing. And try not to condemn myself because of it, right? Because would God do that, right? And then I'll see these videos, it's just like, instead of like doing that, go to God, take it to God, pray to God about it. Don't beat yourself up about it. Just go like, hey, I did this, I fell into this, help. Don't just think, oh, you're bad, right? And then also giving yourself credit when credit's due, because last month I didn't have that issue and I was proud of myself for it, right? And then this month is like, oh dang, right? My goodness. All these like emails. So I had a point to this. Kind of forgot it. I'm not gonna lie. I said that I was slacking and I was upset about myself for it. But now I feel like I want to cry because the funny thing about that, and I just gave an example of like a mess up. I'm not saying that that was like the main thing I'm struggling with or like only issue that I'm struggling with, but I just thought it was a good example because it was honest. And it's not too much in my business because I feel like it's like something, like I don't know, like I don't really tell my business. The only thing I talk about is like romantic stuff when it comes to telling my business, like boys and stuff like that. And I've always been like that. Like I've never done anything else. I remember having a conversation with this friend of mine one time years ago, and I pointed it out to him. I'm like, I don't know if anybody ever noticed this, but if y'all ever think about the conversations that y'all have with me, it's never been anything about really personal about my life. It's always been something about a boy in a relationship, hasn't it? And then he made a face like he thought about it, like, wait a minute, you're right. And I'm like, yeah, that's intentional. I would never, like, you know, because I've never been one to trust people with my business, so. But it's also not a surprise that, I'm a lover girl and I want a relationship. That is a big part of me. It's not the only part of me. But sidetrack, I realized a few days ago when having a conversation with like my mom and dad that they don't know me that well. Because my father called me about something that I had like brought up to him some days ago. And he called my mom and was like, I just have some questions like about XYZ and like what possessed this and how did this go about? And I was expressing this and then I brought up like, I've always like this has always been something that like has occurred within me and da da da. And he's just like, wait a minute, like what? And then my mom also was just like, I had no idea. And I'm just like, I'm like, you guys are my parents. And for you guys to be my parents, it's kind of funny that you guys don't really know anything about me. That's weird, don't you think? But and my mom would be like her little innocent self. She's just like, I mean, I noticed that like this and this, but like we never knew this. And I just thought, I'm like, you know what? That's so ironic. I'm like, maybe it's just so like, because I'm quiet all the like I genuinely am quiet of an individual, and I think people perceive that in many different ways. People perceive my quietness as learning to fuck around and play with me. Ooh, excuse my language. This isn't one of my personal videos. This is one of my Bible thought videos. Hello. Can't curse. My other video that I just uploaded, I cursed and I was aware that I was swearing and I didn't try to not swear because it's about relationships and stuff. But this, no swearing. Sorry. But like people want to mess around and find out. Because they think my kindness and quietness is taken as for like a week, I guess. And then shy. I am shy. But I'm also not shy at the same time. Depends on the situations. Depends on my comfort. I was gonna say I just don't like people, but that's actually genuinely not true. But but it is at the same time. Who knows? I don't know. I think I like being to myself. I like not having people to in my circle, like inner circle, because people's intents you don't fully ever know. So like I like to see the good in people, and I don't like to think about, the bad in a person, like if that's a thing. But also people's intents you can't guarantee. And seeing how people move, even just like in my relationships, it's just like, oh wow, that's not really, a kind of thing that I'd want to be around. Imagine if I were to involve you in things that were like me. You would probably try to ruin me, and don't nobody got time to be having people just that close trying to ruin your spirit, trying to take away and drain you from that. Like, boys are stupid enough, And some people are like, it's not good to be alone, and it's not. You want to have good friends, and you do. But, as bad as it sounds, and it's like, yes, I have friends, but at the same time, I don't have like super close friends. Most of my super, super close friends were family members. So, and having someone that like I just genuinely felt like understood me to like 100% T was my brother. Right? So to have someone that could share thoughts and discussions about the things that go on. And then there's other people that I feel like don't even care. They just want to know, like, have access. I had a friend who would always just look at me and give me this vibe. And they would pay attention to everything I would say. And then make jokes about how he was going to fix my brain. And I had other friends tell me that he thought I was a museum because I was so interesting. From that, one of the friends, I just thought it was funny. But another friend, the other one, I just felt uncomfortable about it. Because it's just like, it didn't give... Your intent isn't to get to know me. Like, genuinely. It's something else that you're looking for. And I don't know how to explain that. But for better, like, I guess, like, if you guys know, like, I don't know much about this yet, but I guess for what comes to mind is like, you know what a monitoring spirit is? That's kind of like where I'm getting at. Like, some people just don't actually, they want access to you because of other reasons and not just because it's a genuine care. And I don't have time for that, right? I don't. So, yeah. And your discernment has to be like on point. And I don't have the time and capacity to be bothered. I don't want to be bothered. Especially for people that I know is going to waste my time. And how do you explain to people that I just know you're going to waste my time without giving them, like, reasonings? Like, how do you explain to a person just like, I can't tell you how I know, but I just know you're a person that's not for me. You feel me? And I'm a girl, so you know our intuitions be on point. Discernment be strong. And the backup of the stories, bro. So funny. The stories that you got to back up is crazy. But I'm gonna shift this just a little, like a jokey joke to kind of like tie it into this. That does not mean that I don't like people. That doesn't mean that I don't want people around. Why? Because sometimes who you are can impact someone else, right? So you don't want to fully isolate yourself, because you, and this sounds cliche, are the light of the world, right? But it's also not cliche because it literally does state that in the Bible a couple of times, actually. You're the light of the world. And then something about my pastor yesterday. She was basically saying, something she said was that God uses people for his work. He will use you to attract other people to him. Right? So, like, you know, your character matters. Being around. It's not bad to be around people. It's also not the worst thing to be. Girl. Around people that are, like, not fully there yet. You know? Because you can be that influence. Which kind of brings me to, it says, the subsection. I already have a sticky note on it, so it's like covering it because my Bible is what's holding my phone up. The Lord will be Jerusalem's glory. Right? Am I going to record myself reading this whole section? Probably not. What? Because I don't know how long that's going to take. And I don't know if my phone will go out. That's the only reason why. I wouldn't mind. It says, I don't know if I should read it all the way through or not. Because I also can't talk much. So. Arise, shine, for thy light is come, and the glory of the Lord is risen upon thee. For behold, the darkness shall cover. I'm trying to read this. Goodness. Sheesh. Okay. For behold, the darkness shall cover. It's so hard to read. You know what? Hold on. I'm gonna do it this way. I'm gonna pull up the, where is it? Which one of these tabs? It might be on a different tab. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna bring up my Bible online. That way. What you doing, buddy? Okay. Let's see if it has the same words. It should. I don't like how the subsections be different though. Like this says the New Jerusalem, but this is something completely different. Okay. You're on my lap. Go ahead, since you're taking over. I'm trying to show people my boobies. How dare you? Arise, shine, for thy light is come, and the glory of the Lord is risen upon thee. For behold, the darkness shall cover the earth, and gross darkness the people. But the Lord shall arise upon thee, and his glory shall be seen upon thee. And the Gentiles shall come to thy light, and the king's brightness of thy rising. That is verses 1 through 3. On my website Bible, because they're in like sections on there. But on this one, it's just all the way down. But I guess we could do that. Why not? It says arise, shine, for their light is come. Arise, like get up, rise, to rise. And then I left my dictionary on the windowsill. I guess we'll go Google them. I'm trying to think. Typing in the rise definition. I know it means to get up or rise, but like, I don't know, like whenever I look up the definition of all the words, I don't know, like you always find something different. See, arise means to happen, occur, or come into existence. So, should I write that down? Why not? I forgot which markers I have. Let's see. It looks like a rainbow if I do that, huh? Why not? So the definition of rise. To happen, occur, come into existence. Sorry, Johnny. Sorry. To begin to occur. The online Webster Dictionary says to begin to occur, to exist. Then I'm going to search up arise definition in the Bible. So in the Bible, arise, ooh, I love when, is a dynamic command and spiritual metaphor meaning to awaken, stand up, to take restorative action. See? Hebrew. Come. Greek, Nigeria. Okay. And then in meeting span several contexts: spiritual awakening, action and obedience. Resurrection. Restoration. That's cool. Okay. And that's just the first word of the freaking sentence. And this is why I don't record. Spiritual awakening, to leave, a call to leave behind darkness, or spiritual slumber. I like that, because now that's starting to relate to me, I feel like. Because I don't know. I like, if you understand. I had a conversation with my toxic ex, is what we always call him. Not too long ago, and I was telling him how I just thought how God is so attentive to detail. I'm gonna talk while I write, because I feel like I don't want y'all just looking at me just write down things you can't see me doing. But I think that God is so attentive to detail and whatnot. Action and obedience are frequently used as prelude to an urgent divine task. I'll put that down. Urgent divine task. And it says resurrection. You should know rising from the dead or walking from physical sleep. I'm just put rise from dead, because you can rise from being spiritually dead or just physically dead. And then restoration, to be restored, yada, 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 yada. Being lifted up, spiritually restored from oppression or affliction. See how people use the definition in the definition of the word. Restore, to make new, bring out of, restore from oppression. Restored from oppression or affliction, which means troubles. The fact that I learned that word after reading the Bible so many times, not so many times, but in so many times that affliction is mentioned and things, or it comes back to affliction. Eventually my vocabulary will be on point, because so that's just the definition of arise. One word. That's crazy. What was I saying beforehand? How attention to detail God could be. Because I said that it felt like, something I could relate to within just the first word of reading. Because when I open the Bible, you want to pray beforehand. And I'll always pray about, just have something stand out to me that applies to me. And I'll always be a full circle kind of thing. But I was talking to my toxic ex, and when I told him, I was just like, yeah, God works and so attentive to details. And when he kind of asked me to elaborate, I was just like, okay, think about how there's a meaning behind every little thing in life, and the reasons why something happens, and all the way to your thought process, and to everything that you do, everything that you are. He's thought about everything, right? And I gave him an example. I was like, for example, you know how when I first met you, your passion was this, right? He was like, yeah. And I was like, imagine God placing that on in your spirit intentionally, because your passion being this would cause you to pursue this, which would make you interact with this person, which would make you interact with that person, which would make you do this and then do this. And he already knew that you would not be okay with this, and he knew that you'd go back to this. And like, say if you go and pursue this and this goes in, then that one thing that you created or did would impact the next person who was going through something that you didn't know about but needed this specific thing from you. And now because they got that thing from you, they was able to do this and this into their own calling that would do this and this. And I just like kind of went on a rant, right? And I was ranting to him about it. And he was like, I was like, I don't know. Sorry. I just be thinking about stuff. And I didn't mean to go like too far off. But he was like, no, actually that makes sense. And that just kind of made me want to like go back to this and this. So then I was telling him like how names have meaning and things like that, right? And I remember some like my name meaning and stuff like that. And then how I have like on deck like people's name meanings. Like I could literally just grab this book that I have right here. It's like right here. And I had like people's name meanings that I was like interacting with, people like that I cared about, and trying to figure out like how they might relate to me and why me. I'm like, because there's always a reason for everything. And then he was just like, you have mine in there. And I was like, of course I do. He was just like, what does my name mean? And then the irony of that was that I was like, I can't really read my handwriting. And I was like, this either says this or this. And I was like, matter of fact, we'll just research your name and see if it's something that pops up that looks like your name. And we did, or when I did, not we, I was like, oh, okay, that's what this says. You want to know something? So then I was like, I don't know what that is. And I Googled it. I was like, you want to know what's so funny? And he was like, what? I was like, your name means this. And you know what this is? And then I told him. And it was so like a, whoa, that's crazy. Because his name, like his passion that he cares about, whatever he cares about doing, is literally in his name. So he's always had this passion, right? For this one thing. And he ended up doing, like, going to this place for this reason and this and taking this job for this. And I was like, and the whole time, your name means this. So it's not by accident that you care about what you care about. It's not, nothing's done just coincidentally, right? And when I told him that, he was like, it was silent for a second. He was just like, oh my goodness. And I was like, right? I was like, can you, like, that's, I'm like, that's like, look, like, look at God, literally. Like, this is like, God be eaten down, like, in new generation terms. Like, you feel me? Like, what? You, like, what? And I was like, and I thought I was one that was, like, clever and, like, attention to detail. But to think that God is that much more attentive to detail and taking into consideration of you and who you are, like, that's insane. And we just had like a moment like, whoa, like what and I was just like, that's amazing. Yeah. Love that. But I digress, but not really, because like the word arise, to happen or to occur, come into existence, to awaken, stand up, or take restorative action. In context, it could mean spiritual awakening, it could mean action and obedience, it could mean resurrection, it could mean restoration. And then if we go back to the sentence, because we're stuck on the first word, arise, shine, for thy light is come, and the glory of the Lord is risen upon thee. Since this is a Bible thought video and not like a Bible study video. We'll just talk about my thoughts as we go into this, even though I kind of like am doing both. I don't know, just whatever. So when I first read this today, because Lord knows that my thought process was different the last time I read this section. It changes each time, I kid you not. The first sentence, I think I even highlighted it in purple, because whenever it feels like it's directed towards me, I highlight it in purple. Favorite color. Best color ever. It's like telling you to get up, shine. Or when I think of shine, I think of being told to be seen, go out and express yourself, like making yourself visible to others. And then it's just like, for thy or your light is come. So when I first read that part, I kind of assumed Jesus coming was the first thought that I had. Because then right after it's just like, and the glory of the Lord is risen upon thee. I thought that meant just like God's presence, like being in God's presence. But the second sentence says, for behold, the darkness shall cover the earth. Right? So like, you know, the bad things that happen or whatever, like the sin that happens in the world, the things that we do that aren't good in the world, that just kind of like is consuming us. And gross darkness the people. So like affecting the people is what I thought. But the Lord shall arise upon thee, and his glory shall be seen upon thee. The last time I searched up the definition of upon, it just means on. It shall be seen on you, which is what changed my thought process after reading that sentence. Because at first, the first time around, I think I was just thinking like God coming, you know, being in his presence. But then just knowing the definition of upon made me think about, because it's so much darkness in the world, and now knowing the definition of arise or coming to existence, the Lord is coming to existence on you. That kind of gives the thought process of being able to see God through you. And so that kind of switched my like, okay, maybe it's not just, it's technically not wrong to think about God's presence, but at the same time thinking of like, seeing God's presence through like your acts, because God is giving favor on you, right? It says that his glory shall be seen upon thee. Glory, also looking up that definition, the praise and like, you know, recognition for someone's great achievements. So I think glory might have been the first definition that we looked up, but that I looked up. So when you're giving glory, you know, honor or praise, recognition for God's works. And then mind you, the subsection is the Lord will be Jerusalem's glory. I guess we could just look up glory again. Glory to glory to glory. In the Bible, glory is a visible manifestation of God's invisible nature, character, and presence. It represents his supreme worth, majesty, and splendor. And then the regular definition of glory refers to high renown, honor, or praise won by notable achievements. I like that definition so much better than the other one. Because it just, I don't know, if the Lord is this place's glory, if we're saying that the Lord is this place's honor and praise won by notable achievements, it makes sense because Jesus, the Lord, died for our sins. That is the notable achievement. He was able to grant us salvation and eternal life when we would have received just damnation like everybody does and just goes to hell, like everybody, right? Because of the things that we were doing, or we would have all just been dead by now, because technically don't quote me, but the wages to sin is death, right? So anytime we sin, we would technically earn death. So how many times have we all sinned in our lives? Literally everybody, right? No one's perfect. No one was born perfect. No one was born sinless. We were born in sin. So because of that, everybody would go to hell. So to not have that be the case, that is like the achievement, because he saved the entire world, because he was perfect and he took the raps for everybody. That, I don't even know how to like begin with that, like the thought process of that. Like that is, I don't even know. You feel me? Like that's, yeah. So yeah, God, the Lord, Jesus is Jerusalem and basically everyone else's glory. That is the praise, that is the honor of where everything should go towards or to, for that alone, right? But that's the subsection. So arise, come into existence, get up, occur, take restorative action. For the reasoning, because like it's like a semicolon telling you like the reason is because your light is come. So my first thought process was because Jesus is coming, but also the second time around it was just like arise, shine, because those are the two commandments that you were given, to get up and shine. So to come into existence and shine, right? So that makes me think of more of the action / obedience context. Like your task is to come into existence, to shine, right? But it could also be in context of like get out of the spiritual slumber that you're in, if you are in one, and then telling you to do these things. Like you need, but like this, it's a command, obviously. So for sure, in the context of action and obedience, but also it could be a spiritual awakening task to leave behind darkness or spiritual slumber, to get out of, to be risen from the dead, which would also go like along with like resurrection, because like you're leaving the spiritual darkness, you're rising from the dead if you're spiritually dead or spiritually sleep or slumbered, and then being restored from oppression or affliction. Obviously, if you are spiritually slumbered or slumped and spiritually dead, then that is the affliction. The problems that you're going through right now is that you have not been spiritually renewed. You're not what's the word that I'm thinking about? You're not on fire for God, is what people would say. Like, you don't have that spark in you. And that is a problem, because if you, someone, a child of God, do not have the spark for God and the passion for God, then your actions will match up with that. You feel me? Like, what you put attention to and attend to, what you care about, not only is your God, but like it's seen, right? When you're passionate about something, you can tell. I had this girl that I went to school with for nursing, and you could just, to anytime I looked at her, I'm like, she belongs to, like, as like, to be a nurse, right? Because every time she talked, the way that she talked about it, she'd be tired, but like, no matter what she talked about nursing, like, you could just see in her face, her eyes lit up every time she talked about it, that that's something she cared about deeply, that she genuinely loved, right? And I'm just like, if people aren't like that when it comes to being a nurse, they don't need to be a nurse. Because this girl really cares about it. Well, I just got a big chunk of honey. And we swallowed the rest. So getting called out of that, it just feels like the command of, or seems like the command of, like, hey, you need to get out of this funk or whatever that you're in and do what I told you to do. You got people attached to you, people on the line for your actions, right? So the commandment was to arise and then shine. Let's look up the definition of shine. It's almost an hour that I've been talking. This feels like this is going to take longer than what I thought. Probably should have done this, like, notes and things before coming and recording myself. Shine generally means to give off or reflect light. Right? So, if you are reflecting something, you were kind of showing, how to describe, reflect means to show an image of. Right? Let's just do this. Definition of shine. Shine meaning in the Bible. Let's get it. Power metaphor for God's presence, truth and transformation of believers. See, and that plays into Arise and Shine if the two commandments were those two. Because obviously you would be transformed. You're getting transformed when you're coming out of a spiritual slumber. You're also being transformed in the sense of if you're reflecting light and reflecting, showing an image of light, so you're showing the image, that means it's visible to the next person. So that still kind of goes into, like, basically letting or allowing people see the image of God through you. You are reflecting that, right? You need to be a reflection of God, what it means to be God-like, what it means to be a woman, man, baby of God, Christian, whatever you want to call it. You feel me? Don't judge me. These are my favorite chips. Oh, look, now you know something about me that's not about relationships. Ooh. So the thought process that I just had is that this comment or sentence is like the first two words alone telling you that you need to come into existence. You need to reflect the image of God. I had it in my head, but forgot the words. But get up. Take restorative action. Renew your spirit. Gain your fire from God. Get out of this slump. And start acting like me. Right? And then the reason being, for thy light is come, and the glory of the Lord is risen upon you. For your light is come. I think light has come is the thing that's standing out to me right now. And risen. Because without thinking about definitions too much, the sentence alone is like Get up. Do whatever, like, your calling is. Because, like, it's here for you. And you're getting God's favor for it on you. Like, you already have God's blessing. Because there's so much in the world that's occurring. Especially with people. But you will receive favor from the Lord. So that others can draw to you because of what you're doing. Right? So overall, that's what this sounds like. And like, I know that I read for it before I got to recording myself. And I know that I start talking about, you know, more like bringing in the Gentiles and stuff like that who will come to you, which is what kind of confirmed my thought of like not just being about Jesus being in your presence, but like you showing others the God in you. Because the third verse says, and the Gentiles shall come to thy light, and kings to the brightness of thy rising. The brightness of thy rising. So like, whatever you're doing, because of your light being so bright or you're shining that much, you are seen, you're attracting these people. And because of who you are and who is behind you or supports you or on the side of you or around you or lives in you, God, you attract these people. Like my mind is like all over the place with this. Not all over the place, but like I didn't even get to my sticky note on my Bible. It's already an hour. Thy light has come. Get up, take action. First reflect me, for your light has come. I think it's your light has come is what's I think I need to look into the your light. Maybe I'll just Google it for like didn't want to touch my mouse with that stuff on my hands. Your light is come. Like, God just takes me straight to the verse. You are referencing the passage from Isaiah 60, verse 1. Thank you. I already know that. I knew what exactly I was. Ooh. Textual breakdown. Compare multiple translations and find verse context on Bible Hub. Read a detailed study lesson on the Jesus Plus Nothing Ministry site. Verse comparison on Bible.com. Let's go to Bible Hub first. It gives me all the verses. Majority text translation. I need. That's not what I meant. That's not what I meant. None of these gave me what I was looking for. I knew what it was trying to say, but that's not helpful. Oh, boom. Guess this is a Bible study. Arise, shine. This phrase is call to action. Boom, look at that. Urging the people of God to awaken from spiritual slumber and reflect the light of God's presence. Oh, look at that. Okay, it's always nice to know that I'm not far off of how I'm thinking when I read the Bible. I'm not stupid, after all. You feel me? That's the ooh, you know? Transition from a state of inactivity or darkness to one activity and illumination. In the context of Isaiah, this is a prophetic call to the nation of Israel, encouraging to step into their role as a light to the nations. The command shine implies that the light is not inherited, but is a reflection of God's glory. This echoes the creation narrative where God commands light to shine out of darkness. It also prefigures the New Testament's call for believers to be the light of the world. Yay! That makes me happy. For your light has come. The light here symbolizes salvation and presence of God. This phrase indicates the arrival of a new era marked by divine intervention and blessing in the historical context, this can be seen as a promise of restoration for the Israel in Babylonian exile. Theologically, it points to the coming of the Messiah, who is often associated with light. The fulfillment of this prophecy is seen in the advent of Jesus Christ, who declares himself as the light of the world. The light represents truth, guidance, and revelation of God's will. Boom. So I was not too far off or correct about my thought processes within the first sentence of this chapter. I like that. That makes me feel a little bit more confident when reading, because sometimes there's frustration and it's just like, am I even reading and understanding this correctly? That doesn't mean that's necessarily right either. But the possibility of some direction, that's nice to know. For your light is come. That also makes me think, like, the first time I thought about, like, when it says the light is coming, it's just referring to Jesus being present. And it's possibly, like, what it does mean, so that's cool. So, get up and start acting like me, because I'm here. If that's the case, for their light is come, light being Jesus. If that is the case, get up, get out of your spiritual, like, slumber, and start acting like Jesus, because Jesus is here and gives you glory, because it's risen upon thee, meaning risen on you, or, it's on you, meaning God gave or granted access, right? And so, for the whole sentence, for that first verse, start acting more like Jesus. You have to make an effort. You have to put in the work. You have to actually, actively be seeking Jesus to be more like Jesus. And also, when trying to become more like Jesus, Jesus is already present with you and giving you authority to do so, because he wants others to come to him and will use you by it. So I feel the need to say this for whatever reason. Whatever it is, if there's someone outside of myself watching this that is in your heart to do so, and you're worried that you can't do it, you're scared to do it, you're incapable of doing so, here's technically a verse explaining to you that God is already by your side and is giving you the authority to do so, because he needs his people and he wants his people back. Right? And I get it. Tastes like sanitizer. I get it, because I'm timid, I'm shy, I'm quiet, and I'd be scary. I should have a voice sometimes. I think this is just a call to walk in your authority to whomever sees this. And I pray that whoever does need to see this will eventually see this. It's so funny that I took over an hour just to think about one verse in the Bible. Imagine how many more hours when finishing a chapter. I know. Thought process also makes me think about myself. If I pray, hey, what does this have to do with me? Get up and start acting like me. And start working into the way that I told you to walk into. You worried about if you can do it or not. You worried about the wrong thing. I'm giving you authority to do so. Because I need you to draw people to you so they can know me. I don't know why that came in my head. Has nothing to do with anything. It's a song that I made that I never posted. But it's not like a gospel song that I make or anything. I thought it's just a song about this boy. I made the song like some years ago. The melody's pretty though. I just didn't like how it sounded when I went to go get it mixed and mastered. Man, oh man. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Hi.
Why are you up? Couldn't sleep?
Well, I don't think I slept. I have alarms that go off at like several different times of the day. Why are you up?
I have to go to the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
I've been drinking all that water. I can't.
I just had another thought like just now. I was writing down before that light has come. Your light. You get up, get into action, and be reflections of God based off whatever your calling is and what you're doing. Because your light, what helps you see the thing that makes things visible to you, has come or is coming, has come, whatever. Because it says, for thy light has come. Your light, thy means you, right? Your, the, all those words, you, right? Your light, the thing that helps you see where to go, what to do, how to move, is Jesus, right? So you're giving the confirmation, I guess, to get out of a certain situation and to reflect the image of God, reflect the image. The reason that you can do that is because you have the blueprint or example in front of you, right? So because you are involved, because you are a child of God, because you have God as your because you have God as like your example, because you have God as your role model and guidance to do these things, you can go about your day and to taking these actions. It's kind of like you have God by your side, but at the same time, like you have God as like your help. There's a better way to say this, but Okay. Let's just look at the definition of light then. Light, or maybe light significance. That's not definition. Light significance. Not significado. I want it in English, please. The biological significance of light. Disrupts moods. Yeah, technically. I want the specific, like just regular significance. Like the symbolism. Transition from ignorance and enlightenment. Technically. Truth and clarity. Guidance. When you glorify something, it means to give them praise, right? Glorify God, recognize the things that He's done. That's what it means to give glory, right? So the glory, the honor and recognition of all the things that that person or God has done, and the person being the Lord. So the recognition and honor of all the things that God has done is risen upon you. So it's come. It's risen on you. Risen and seen, right? And then later on in the sentence it says it will be seen upon you. So risen means to move from a lower position to a higher one. To come or go up. So to have glory, come up or start from a lower position to a higher one, and it's happening on you, right? means what that's saying is the recognition of all the things that the Lord has done will come up on you. The recognition of all the things that God has done from a lower position, moving into a higher one on you. I want to say the works that God will do in your life. Then it later says it shall be seen on you. So it'll kind of go into having others see what God has done for your life, especially people knowing where you started and where you're going. And in order for God to do that kind of movement on your lifespan, you have to be connected, have a relationship with God, get out of your spiritual slump, start actually trying to, actively seek and have a relationship with God. And express that you are having a relationship with God and have a relationship with God through what you do, so people can see God through you. As the younger folks would say, lucky. It's so weird to say as the young folks would say, because I'm not old. It's just I'm in a different generation. Man, what, 2 generations above the one that we have now? But I'm still young, very young. I'm still in my 20s. It's crazy to think. Because what generation are we in? One generation. Are we in? One generation, not 2, because I'm not a millennial. I thought we had another generation. We're in generation Alpha, whatever that means. I'm a Gen Z. Today, humanity is in the midst of 3 distinct living generations: millennials, Generation Z, and Generation Alpha. No, I was right. 2, because Generation Beta is apparently a thing. So I'm 2 generations. Okay, that's weird. Real weird. Anyway. My laptop just froze. Okay. Come for it, because to me that's just like, okay. Arise, shine, for the light has come, and the glory of the Lord is risen upon me, which means the notable actions and achievements that the God has done is moved from a lower position to a higher position onto you. God is doing a new thing. That also makes me think of like God going from being low key to not so low key in your lifespan. Becoming a higher position in your lifespan, which could also go into him becoming more of a forefront of your life versus maybe a position that he wasn't really in at first. And this is telling you that this is happening too. Where behold, the darkness shall cover the earth. That kind of foreshadows of whatever is going to happen next. And gross darkness, the people of the Lord shall arise and come up upon thee, shall come into existence on you. And his notable actions and honor will be seen on you. Meaning, he's speaking forth. People are going to see the God on you. The people are going to see the God in you. People are going to know that's God's child. It won't be a question. It's stating this is what's going to happen. And the demand for you to take action for when it does. And the Gentiles shall come to thy light, and kings to the brightness of your rising. The foreshadowing of your rising, the foreshadowing of you coming up. That gives you something to look forward to. That gives you hope and faith. Because in the beginning I just talked about feeling like a failure and feeling like I'm not doing anything right. And here is a verse, 4 verses, 3 verses, literally just telling you, get up, get your stuff together. Because all the things that's happening in this world, with all these people are going to see the God in you. And people are going to see the favor that I place upon your life. Your life will be so bright that it will attract others. It'll attract others to your rising, to your come up. That's nearly a promise, a foreshadowing, a confirmation. Which is nice. You wanna know what's so funny? I be seeing it on my timeline all the time. Of how people be like, oh yeah, your breakthrough's coming. Your God is gonna do this and do this. And I used to think that people say it for fun. But here is the actual verse of the Bible stating just that, right? Because sometimes I used to think people just like hearing himself talk. But no. It's actually something stated in the Bible. People always talk about people's come-ups and God's divine favor and how he's going to do it for you and do it for your lifespan. And people are going to watch and see what he does in your life, right? And those words sound nice, but here is the proof, the documentation of those exact words. The confirmation to get ready, because God's really going to do it for you. God's really going to do it for me. Get it together. And not even like a mean get it together. It's just like a, hey, get up out of this little slump that you're in. God's present. He's with you. If you think you can't do it, He's guiding you. Go into your calling. Go into your purpose. Go shine. Be seen. Be visible. Go into the world and show them who you are as my child. I need you to do that. I need you to be a reflection of me. I need people to see that in you. I need people to know for a fact, oh, that's a child of God. So they can also look and see what I do for you. So they can be like, I want that too. If God could do that for her life, if God can do that for him, if this is what He can do in their life, you can do it for me too. It's possible. Nothing is impossible. Especially for people that try to tell you that it's the case, or people that try to, I got teary-eyed, tell you that it's not going to happen for you, or try to discourage you. God will restore. Can and will. And don't let nobody take that thought from you. Because you serve the true and living God. He's not going to lie to you. I think I'm going to stop there. I'll probably write a few more things down. But I think that's going to be the thing. Okay. Brightness means subjective. Visual perception of a light source or reflecting surface. Okay. So when something's subjective, it's your interpretation, right? Okay. So, there's the brightness, right? So what that means Oh, okay. So I guess I'll just read what I have. Actually, no. I'll just read this part. So the last, in a little small subsection, when it talks about the Gentiles coming to your light, so attracting people, and it says, and kings to the brightness of your light, of your rising. So people are attracted to how they perceive your reflecting surface. So, in other words, people are attracted to how it's a subjective, meaning it's based off your personal feelings and influence. So brightness is brightness is subjective. So if something's bright or not, so referring to your rising or your come up. If something's rising, it's coming from one lower position to a higher position. So it says that the kings, you attract the kings to the brightness of thy rising, the brightness of your rising. So how bright your rising is, how your come up from being in one low position to a higher position, how they perceive your reflecting surface or light source. So it makes sense in my head. How someone sees you in your come up, it makes so much sense in my head. Brightness is subjective, meaning it is based on personal feelings, their taste, and their opinions. So, meaning it has nothing to do with you, specifically of how they're already thinking. So not all the time you're going to get good opinions of you, because some people already choose to not like you, right? Some people already choose to see you and your actions a certain way. But that's important because there are some people that yearn for certain things, that have a heart for certain things, and just don't know where to go. But they are looking for it and they're seeking for it. So in this case, God knows there are people that are seeking him and wants and yearns for a relationship with him and are just looking for something to kind of gravitate towards. So for those people, you attract how these people are viewing your reflection of God, because it says your reflecting surface, light source. Your light source in the beginning of the section, it says your light has come, or thy light has come. If we're thinking about Jesus being the light that's come, or your light source, and brightness is being subjective to how someone sees that light source, what that means is that someone sees God. How do I say? Someone sees God through you based off your rising, how you started from one place low to your coming up, right? So you're attracting people and how they view God, how they see God or brightness. Because technically your light and your brightness, which does make sense. I don't know why I'm thinking like this didn't make sense. Light is bright. Light refers to God's presence, God's spirit on you, the brightness, how bright you are, kind of shows how actively involved with God you are. People can see that on you, and you are attracting people from the shorter span. People see God through you, right? I know how to say this in a simple term, but I'm trying to say it in my terms. But they're attracted to you based off your rising, right? Your come up and how bright that come up is, right? How bright that rising is. So we're still looking, overall, we're looking at your rising. So you coming from this position to that position, and then how bright that is. So how involved, how active God is within that, if that makes any sense to the next person. But to get my point across, you ever notice how we look at celebrities and influencers and be like, they came a long way from where they started? Okay, it went to low power mode. It didn't stop though. That's kind of what this is giving, right? People can look at your lifestyle and see how God played a part in that, how active God was and is in your life to get you from where you once started to where you're going, right? And once people see that, they're attracted to getting to know your God, your light, right? I don't know. It makes sense in my head, and I don't know if I'm wording this in a way that makes sense. But for the simple terms to close this out, because it's almost been 2 hours, I think the point of these 3 verses is to tell you to get serious, get active, get up about your relationship and connection with God, so He can guide your life. So when He does all these wonderful things for you in your life, people can see how involved He is in your life because you sought a relationship with Him, so that they would be attracted enough to do it for themselves. Whatever that may look like for you. And I'm going to end it there because I spent 2 hours to say that. Bye.